It's time for the One More Rewrite Halloween Special.
Somebody had gotten a tattoo of the red balloon with writing around it. We all float down here. And I'm like,
why?
what kind of a sick person?
Yeah. Okay.
It's like, now granted, kind of cool, but still at the same time. Yeah.
Yeah, why? Just like, I'm getting into the Halloween spirit every time I look at my arm. But anyway, well, so speaking of the Halloween spirit, here we are with the One More Rewrite podcast Halloween special. So, as we've mentioned several times throughout the year, you don't want to watch most modern Hollywood offerings like Paranormal Activity 17,000, whatever they're on now.
Whatever episode it is.
Yeah, we didn't reach Jaws 19, but we did reach, absurd levels of like paranormal, insidiousness.
Paranormal Activity and Insidious and, far too many Saws.
Yeah. So,
the first couple, they were alright, but, I kind of lost interest after that.
Yeah. I like the first one or two had their kind of creep out factor because they were different. It was the first time we really saw something that was like...
Yeah, the first one's actually pretty good.
It's interesting.
The first one, because it's more suspense, and it's not like,
It's more about the suspense. It's less about the gore and the gruesomeness.
And Carrie Elwes. I mean, you got
Carrie Elwes. Carrie Elwes.
Great in there. But it's, more about the suspense and what's going on. It's kind of all new and fresh. And the second one, it's okay. We kind of know there's going to be some kind of twist somewhere in there, and so you kind of expect it. But
that's the second one's where it starts to dissolve into the torture porn that it became.
Yeah, a little bit. I went to the movie theater and Jamie ended up walking out of it.
Oh, really?
I finished watching it. Jamie went and...
Yeah, you finished watching Dr. Jekyll and Ms. Hyde, though, so...
I did. I finished everything.
God. Yeah.
There's a very few movies that I've shut off. I think maybe 3 in my life that I haven't watched to the end. I finished The Limits of Control, for goodness sake.
Yeah.
And I think The Limits of Control is because it's controlling yourself not to press stop on the movie. It is really, really boring.
Yeah.
I think Jamie made it 15 minutes in and said, I'm going to bed. I'm like, I have to finish it. Don't you know that I have to finish watching every movie? Plus, Bill Murray's in here somewhere. And he doesn't show up until the last 10 minutes. The last 10 minutes is the only good part of movie.
As you might expect. Anyway,
I tell you that, Doug. No, just fast forward to the end and watch it. Bill Murray swears more than any person I've ever heard in the last 10 minutes of that movie.
He does an impression of every, Quentin Tarantino movie ever.
No, he swears more than that.
Oh, wow, okay. Quentin Tarantino combined with Big Lebowski?
No, a little bit more than that. It was a lot of swearing.
Okay.
Like, you can barely understand him. It's like every single other word is a swear. It's
like Yosemite Sam on crack if he was swearing?
Yes, exactly. That's it. Yes, that's it.
That's what I figured. Well...
Rick-a-frack a little?
Yeah. So before we get too horribly off track, let's get into some not horrible movies, but some movies that'll delve into horror, the creepy, the spooky, the, I guess you would say mesmerism, spiritualism, weird stuff like that. That kind of thing that you think of at this time of year.
Movies for your Halloween party.
Movies for your Halloween party. Ones that you want to sit down and watch. Ones that you could have playing in the background, but still sit down and watch if you really wanted to. Not that none of these are going to be actual rewrites because we could too easily do a ton. Like 5 hours or more worth per year worth of specials on the state of modern horror movies and such, and rewrite every single one of those, and it would still end up as a pile of garbage. But not because we lack the writing chops, but because it's kind of like I can't do anything with this.
Yeah, I'm not really a fan of horror in the first place. I mean, it ends up being
old school horror is
well,
good.
Yeah, sure. I mean, you go back to Universal Monsters, you can definitely sit down and watch any of those.
Yeah, and the reason is because they're not they don't confuse horror with guts and gore.
Right.
It's about more of the horrible and horrific things that are happening. Like, when you really take a step back and think about it, like, this is really awful. Like, this is frightening and kind of gets you at a deeper level. And it's not
rather than, ooh, this is making me feel sick, or something jumped out from behind a wall and now I'm
scared of something popping out. Yeah, this is, we're not talking like
it makes me jump. No, that's not scary, that's startling.
Yeah, it's like the same way like Dead Alive isn't exactly like scary or whatever. It's gruesome, it's over the top gore.
The bloodiest film ever made.
It is like lose your lunch grossness right there. But anytime you have a character,
it's kind of what it's supposed to be.
It's what it's supposed to be. And anytime you have a character strap a lawnmower to his chest and run in front of a bunch of zombies, what do you expect? But anyway, since we're talking about classic horror and what it used to do, I want to highlight a couple of old school horror films. First and foremost, I wanted to highlight one that I've highlighted briefly in the past. And I'll just make it quick for this one. It would be Horror of Dracula, starring Christopher Lee as the Count, Sir Christopher Lee, and Peter Cushing as Van Helsing and such. It's the first one with them too. I mentioned before when we were talking about Chris Lee that it's great classical horror. There's great chemistry between the leads. There's no scares, but I wanted to delve a little bit more into that. It's not about the scares in a movie like that. It's more about the horror aspect. I mean, Van Helsing, he follows up after his apprentice goes missing when he's, trying to find the Count or investigating the Count to see if he's a vampire like they think, which, of course he is. But you've got this thing where he comes along and the horror aspect is there because isn't there something, what's more horrific than you have like one you care for, a loved one that's taken over by a cursed being, and the only way to free them is to drive a stake through their heart or vanquish them with daylight or whatnot. I think too often people forget that horror doesn't just mean like great green globs of gooey gopher guts or whatever and and blood and it can mean something horrible that happens that's too terrible that just transpires like, oh my gosh, I have to murder my best friend and colleague, which is what it comes down to.
There's something like that is far more likely to leave you feeling unsettled, which I think that any good like really horror suspense kind of movie really should. More than just feeling, oh, that was disgusting. And certainly, I had recommended Martyrs, and there's a good portion of that's just disgusting or hard to watch. I mean, you
didn't recommend Martyrs. You were like, stay away. It's a good, or only watch it once, ever.
Kind of anti-recommended it.
Kind of anti-recommended it.
I mean, come on, it ends up with a girl being flayed alive. It's really not something people should be watching. Half an hour of a woman being beaten and force-fed. It's really just disturbing to watch.
Yeah.
If that's your kind of thing, then cue it up this Halloween, whatever.
Yeah.
But as far as classics go, how are you going to do better than The Master of Suspense? I mean, come on. Hitchcock, It's got to be Hitchcock, right?
So you've got a Hitchcock one for us. What are you talking about? What are you thinking? Psycho, huh?
No, Psycho's good. Don't get me wrong, I love Psycho.
Okay.
Mother's Not Herself Today. It's really, really good and definitely should be on the playlist. But Shadow of a Doubt, I think, is probably the best Hitchcock film.
And you think it's good for Halloween?
I think it's good for whenever. But yeah, definitely for Halloween. It is really got that psychological disturbing thing about it, Like Uncle Charlie comes to visit and there's something weird about Uncle Charlie, and Joseph Cotton just nails it every second. Just totally creepy, but he seems like such a nice guy, but there's something a little off about this guy. And when he gives his speech about the women at the table, they're simple little lives, and just goes off, and you're just like, and the little slow pusher, you're just like, okay.
Yeah.
You seemed so nice earlier. you okay?
I feel like there's something wrong with this boy.
Yeah, and then his niece, Charlie, was named for Uncle Charlie, kind of slowly coming to realize and starting to think, hey, wait, this guy might be a serial killer. But he was like her favorite uncle. And she's like slowly coming to realize this guy might be a serial killer. And just like the slow revelation of it, like it just takes its time. It's like she slowly gets to it.
Yeah.
And him just slowly becoming more and more creepy. Just love Joseph Cotton's performance. It's worth watching just to watch Joseph Cotton.
Yeah.
Like even just that scene of him sitting at the dinner table, sipping little lives, just awesome. That's the one. That's my classic pick. I think that's
okay.
That's classic for all ages.
Okay,
awesome.
yeah, it's hard to go wrong with Hitchcock, but
Yeah, and no gore, no blood and guts. You can watch it with the whole family and leave the kids terrified.
your uncle's coming to visit. No, yeah, that's why it's the master of suspense and why. Some of those films they're better for just like sticking with you because they don't rely on that kind of guts and gore, and they don't rely on the serial killer popping up with a knife and stabby.
Yeah, no like jump scares and stuff. I mean, even Psycho had a little bit of the read.
Yeah,
I mean, there's a little bit of that in there, but
there we go. That's the origin of the jump scare. When you say is Psycho because
like pops up behind the curtain.
Actually, I never jumped at that, but the staircase where it just comes running out
because
the music cues up. That's more of a jump scare to me because I'm like, holy cow! You're just like and those odd camera angles of the guy falling down the stairs.
Like the slow falling backwards.
The weird
down
slow
the
falling.
Stairs
It does cue
with
that
a weird Dutch angle, and you're like,
like, oh my god, I'm falling with it. Oh wait, no, okay. But yeah. Those are some classic movies for you, and just as a quick throw out, probably cover this next year, but if you're dubious about those, it's hard to go wrong with a classic Boris Karloff film. I mean, this guy was in, everything. Like,
I think if you're doing Universal, you gotta go Creature from the Black Lagoon.
Really?
Yep, loved it. That's my favorite one.
I'm more of like The Mummy, just because I like the pacing in a little bit more, and you don't have too
Abbott
much.
and Costello versus The Mummy is really the go-to there. I mean,
but Abbott and Costello meet Frankenstein. Also,
all of those.
Any of the Abbott and Costello, like where they meet a monster, those are great. Those are just classic.
So much fun. Abbott and Costello Meet the Mummy is just like, I think that's my favorite Mummy movie.
Yeah, I was gonna say it's
that even beats the Brendan Fraser ones.
Well, the Brendan Fraser ones are more of like the action shoot 'em up type things. Not really. That's why it didn't make my like Halloween list, because it's more of an action movie. I did think of it briefly, but if you want to watch a mummy film this Halloween, then pop in the classic with Boris Karloff, because, well, one, you get to see the guy act, which is awesome, but you get, again, what I feel like a lot of more modern horror lacks. It's just that kind of pacing, that building up and dread and such. Not forced dread, but like, you know what I mean? Like,
right. Well, if you really want to go back to the beginning, Nosferatu.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
It's gotta be Nosferatu.
You want to
watch Nosferatu, and then right after that, watch Shadow of the Vampire.
Yeah.
In case you got to watch them together. They're like companion pieces.
I was gonna say that's kind of like a buddy pack right there. The original Nosferatu, and then Shadow of the Vampire with John Malkovich as himself. I mean, it's Nosferatu.
It's just so good. It's just so good. That's awesome. Probably one I'll be rewatching this Halloween.
Yeah, it's just awesome. Moving on to classic or modern classic horror, I guess you would say.
It's a bit more modern. Well, I guess classic. Okay.
Within the past 30 years.
The in-between times.
The in-between times before we got to the dark times. The insidious, paranormal times. Yes, the jump scare times. I want to mention two films hand in hand, because we don't mention the two films that followed them up, but I want to talk about Alien and Aliens. I think it's usually referred to as a classic haunted house tale in space.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I can see that. Yeah, well,
Well, the first one.
Okay, the first one is a horror movie.
The first one's a horror
The
movie.
second one's an action movie.
People say that, but I like watching it. Like, if you watch the director's cut of Aliens, and I'd say like the second half is more, well, it's kind of a blend action horror, I guess you would say.
Right, yeah, okay. But the second one was way more actiony than the first one was. The first one's like really creepy.
The first one's really creepy.
And super dark.
And super dark. And Ridley Scott. Because Ridley Scott, get that camera. Said, no, Ridley, get that light out of here. Scott directed it. And even the scenes with the super bright like lights when they're in the hub there talking or typing and stuff to Mother.
Yeah.
It's still like somehow, Ridley Scott has an aura about him where the light is sucked out of a super bright room.
Yeah.
Like, I can't see that. I know it's not in shadow.
Always shadow. Everybody always in the shadows.
Everybody's in the shadows.
This is a brightly lit room. Why is everybody in a shadow?
Just enters the room. Like, Ridley Scott's here, everybody. Here's your flashlights. But anyway, classic haunted house tale in space. And most by now know the terrible tales of the xenomorph and how they all became dinner, the Nostromos and such.
Yeah.
But aside from the whole confined space and sense of claustrophobia the film conveys, it's got genuine jump scares before. There were not before jump scares, but I would say real jump scares as opposed to the cheap jump scares that you see today.
Yeah.
Because I guess you know what's coming, but that doesn't make it any less scary. Whereas I think for all the effects and pop-ups and whatnot that you see in modern horror, the ghost effects or something just don't seem as creepy as the gooiness and that kind of weirdness of the original Alien, because it's just by name Alien. It is so foreign. It has barely any kind of humanoid features at all, other than that it has arms and kind of legs, but just everything else about it, you're just like, get it away from me. And knowing that it's coming doesn't make it any less. Knowing that it's coming, seeing it there,
hiding in the walls or running through the ceiling, and you're just always just it could be anywhere. And that, I think really the greatness about the first one is that you never know where it's going to show up.
Yeah.
And it's the whole idea of it's behind me, isn't it? Having that kind of
we talk about the cliches, that people take for granted. Oh, that's a cliche. But this is where, again, Psycho probably had the first kind of real jump scare with the Mother, quote unquote, popping up. But Alien had that real kind of, it's behind me, isn't it? Where's the monster? It's it's down this creepy, darkly lit hall, and where is it? Oh my gosh, where is it? And people freaking out because they know the monster's there somewhere, but they don't know what to do. They don't know what to do to escape it, and just the panic. And it makes Sigourney Weaver's Ridley that much more of a bad you-know-what, but because she's still terrified but faces it.
Yeah.
But and you're right there with her. She's walking down the hallway looking for this thing. Yeah,
really, you're fully immersed in this kind of world.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Yeah. And as for the second one, I know it's more actiony, but there's something for me personally about that those scenes where it's got that constant click of the motion sensor and that pinging noise, which is so iconic. It's like a beep, 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 beep. Are you looking for it? Yeah.
No. Something else.
That it makes the monster aliens just seem, as they're coming closer, it just gives me chills still. In fact, I think you could probably place a loop of that sound effect in front of your home with the pinging and little click, 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 rather than spooky songs or an assortment of haunted house sounds that would freak people out, because people who know that
people would hear that and remember that, and you'd have that weird kind of sensation of, I don't know where I've heard that before, but something bad is about to happen.
Yeah. Yeah. But if you watch the director's cut especially, it has a lot more of those creepy, monstery horror elements. And it's a monster movie, but it's a monster movie that's scary because the monster doesn't lose its punch once you see it. It doesn't become like, okay, and now I've seen it, now I'm not quite as unnerved by it. You still
where you like kind of have to keep the creature in the shadows because it's not that scary.
Yeah.
Like, well, basically, Alien is essentially like a remake of It Came From Outer Space. But that creature, they had to keep in the shadows.
Yeah.
Not scary. But Giger's creation with the xenomorph is just...
Yeah. It's just like, I don't know what wrong side of the bed and what horrible tortured nightmares he had to have visions of that kind of thing. But it's yeah, you say the xenomorph from Aliens and people instantly know. And I've seen like displays of it. Like people have these, mock-ups of them and I don't want to say mannequins, but basically mannequin mock-ups of them. You see those things in quote-unquote real life, and they look just as creepy in person as they do on the screen. And like if you've ever been to a haunted house or some place that sells like Halloween supplies, and they have like their, oh look, here's a creepy gory skeleton, or here's a monster thing. It looks plasticky and fake.
Right.
The alien still looks like, is this thing like rigged to pop up and like attack me or do something to scare? Because I don't like that. I'm not cool with the creepy weird butler mask thing. If it turns out to be a person popping up, oh ha ha, whatever. But I don't want that thing, that alien, to move because that's too weird.
Yeah.
But yeah,
I get you.
I would say either of those would be great, like more modern horror / creepy. And again, yeah, it's a classic haunted house tale, but in space.
Yeah.
In space, it sounds weird to say, but it's great. You should add that to your, I guess you would say, Halloween queue if you haven't already. Both of them, either of them. Don't go past the first two.
I like the third one.
It's not
for what it was. I mean, David Fincher directed it. It wasn't that bad. I mean,
but neither it or the fourth one.
The fourth one, no, stay away from that one.
The fourth one, just stay away.
Awful.
But the last two aren't scary, though. I wouldn't qualify them as like, there's no scares. You're not really. Sure.
No, but definitely, and that's even one that you could just leave with the sound off, just kind of playing in the background at your Halloween party.
Like, oh, it's Aliens Cubed. Oh, I can turn that off. Anyway, so do you have any modern horrors? Anything more updated?
It's something more modern. Well, the one that I would recommend is actually one that not nearly enough people have seen, which is Trick or Treat.
Okay.
Don't do Trick or Treat. Trick or Treat takes you to the wrong movie. It's Trick or Treat.
Is there like an apostrophe in there?
Yeah. Okay. It's Trick apostrophe R.
Okay.
Treat.
Trick or Treat.
Trick or Treat.
Okay.
Which is an anthology movie.
Okay.
So there's 5 different stories, some longer than others, that are all Halloween-based stories. They all kind of fit together, really, in kind of a weird way. Like, they're all their own separate story, but they all kind of, reference each other, I guess.
Yeah.
But so they're all kind of, mixed together. Like, you could watch, any one segment of it and totally have it be its own self-contained short film.
Yeah.
But they're all kind of tied together in the way that they're told and kind of reference each other a little bit. So, but it's kind of all of the basic kind of different stories, like Halloween type stories of, from the one with the, Anna Paquin where they're witches celebrating Black Mass, to the guy that's really into, Brian Cox is really into Halloween, and his wife isn't, and then the scary little demon thing that's on the front of the box attacks him. And, there's basically every genre of different types of horror in there, and there's some jump scares and some creepy stuff, but it's all kind of worked together in, this really nice little tapestry. And really, it feels like 80s horror.
Oh, really?
Where it's not taking itself too seriously, and it's not like we're trying to scare you. We're just having fun.
Okay.
You know?
Like
It's
Haunted House, almost. Like it's a movie where that's got
Yeah.
like a haunted house feel. Like we're not trying to scare you too much, but it's
Right.
just
It's
leave you
not like
uneasy.
actually trying to be scary. Although it is, like in some places you're like, ooh, whoa, hey, whoa, what was that? But
Yeah.
at the same time, it's kind of like feels lighthearted in a way. You know?
weird to
And
say,
it was
but-
like it was actually like voted like the best horror movie of the year at Fangoria in like 2007, I think, was when it originally came out. And it was supposed to be released, and then supposed to be released. And like I kept waiting for this movie. I had heard about it, got great reviews when it came out. It's like 80-something, 86% fresh or something like that on Rotten
Yeah.
Tomatoes. Like, just really great reviews, and everybody talking about how much fun this movie is, and how you need to add this to your Halloween playlist. Like, you have to play this every year at Halloween. Like, this is your Halloween. This is your go-to Halloween movie. Everybody watch this one. And it never came out. Like, I kept waiting, and then I'm working at Blockbuster, and there it is. It shows up.
Yeah.
2008. Shows up on video,
I
and I'm
was
like,
gonna say.
this movie, I've been waiting forever for this movie. And I picked it up and I watched it. So much fun.
Okay.
It's really enjoyable. It's a nice little ride, and you've got like the different stories, so you get everything for your Halloween. It really is. It should be on everybody's Halloween playlist. That's the one.
Okay.
That you need one Halloween movie. There's your Halloween movie. It's all of them.
Alrighty, because it's that kind of anthology thing, and
Yeah.
I'm like right now I'm looking at the promotional art for this, and I the little kid with this kind of like scarecrow mask thing on, and I'm saying, oh my gosh, okay, I know what movie he's talking about. I've seen it pop up on like there's been homages to this on Shirt.Woot over the years, and everybody's like, oh, it's a trick or treat, trick or treat. I'm just like, I have no idea what they're talking about, so I'm glad to finally know, because nobody ever mentioned that it was a movie. They just said, oh, that's from Trick or Treat. So,
Yeah.
okay. So that's kind of cool, actually.
And that is, and definitely one. You should watch that one. It's good.
Yeah, I think I'll check it out, because I don't like things that are too gruesome, but like I know what you mean by that kind of. It's all in good fun, but still kind of eerie in spots, and that's why I think
Yeah.
of automatically like a haunted house, where it's. If you go to the right ones, not the ones that are trying to be gross out or really trying to scare you, but they're just like your run-of-the-mill haunted house, they might have some things that are like, oh, that's unsettling, but you know, it's like, how does the line go? Everybody deserves one good scare on Halloween. It's mood movie, that kind of thing, and
and there's some funny parts in it, and some parts that you go, oh,
Yeah.
It's kind of, it's a lot of fun. I recommend it. And definitely, there's another one I'll be rewatching this Halloween.
Okay. I just want to give a brief mention to what I think of as background stuff as well. Not just background, but you can sit down and watch it, which is The Crow, Brandon Lee, Ernie Hudson, Michael Wincott, who's like always the villain, it seems, in everything.
Yeah.
Pretty,
He does it well.
He does it well. Like that whole like gravelly voice, I'm wearing an eye patch, so I must be evil type thing. I think I've seen him do 2-3 different times.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's, if you've never seen The Crow and just heard bad things about it, that's just about the sequels, okay? The original Crow is fantastic. It's a shame that they lost Brandon Lee on it, but...
Yeah, Alex Proyas' direction.
Alex
fabulous.
Proyas' direction makes the movie.
Yeah, it really does. It's just so well done.
Yeah. It's how to do darkness without making it too much Ridley Scott-ness, you know?
Yeah.
Because
like he did, Alex Proyas also did Dark City, which actually should probably be in the rotation too.
I think Dark City also should be in there. Yeah, like why not just make it your Alex Proyas 2-pack? Watch The Crow or watch Dark City. Dark City is what The Matrix wishes it could be.
Yeah,
I like The Matrix, okay, but The Matrix, you look back on it, feels a little dated.
Yeah,
but Dark City, it has so many other great moments. The shadows and the lighting, the film noir kind of.
It's a time out of time.
It's time out of time.
Which is just exactly what it needed to be in order to make that movie work, and it was just like so perfectly done.
And it has a lot of eeriness to it, which also I think would make it a great Halloween viewing type film. Plus with the stuff with the strangers. But if you're going to watch it, watch the director's cut.
Watch the director's cut.
Do not watch the theatrical version, because it is so like there's like an opening narration that basically spoils everything.
Yeah, just explains the whole movie right up front. You're like, what did you do? Wait, why?
Yeah, so watch, if you have never seen Dark City and thought, oh, this kind of looks like it's trying to be The Matrix. Dark City is better. Watch it. Watch the director's cut. Don't ever watch the theatrical version because it ruins the whole thing right off the bat. Like, you're just like, well,
Oh, and if you happen to be able to pick up the DVD of Dark City, definitely, after you see the film, watch it over again. With Roger Ebert's commentary. Because Roger Ebert's commentary is great on there.
Yeah.
Like, it was one of Ebert's favorite films.
I know, which is why I wish it would have done better. Ebert loved it.
Yeah.
And it was great. It's one you should own. Same with The Crow. Crow's streaming on Netflix right now, but there's a lot of goodies in the take-home version, so to speak, of The Crow that you should watch and enjoy if you've never really, I guess you would say, I mean, like, everybody knows by now, like, what had happened with Brandon Lee accidentally being shot and like accidental misfire of a squib that was improperly done, stuff like that. But yeah, those are both great. Just want to throw out they're great mood type ones if you're looking for something that's like, I think the two movies we recommended expound on can get a little gruesome at times.
Yes.
Obviously, when you think of the original Alien, they didn't tell the cast what was going to happen before the thing pops out of the guy's chest.
The chest burster.
Yeah, they said, you're going to get messy. Like, okay. So, which still to this day is great because you could see the actual terror on everybody's and WTF-ness. Like, ah!
Yes, that's genuine terror on their face.
Yeah. Because they had an idea of what was coming, but not just how horrific it was going to be. So, yeah, if you're going to do something, you gotta do it that way, I guess. I don't know if you'd be able to get away with that kind of stuff today, would you? Okay, like the stuff that, like, just thinking, I guess that might be modern-ish horror as well, would be The Shining, like the stuff that was done to Shelley Duvall in that.
You're right, yeah.
You can't...
Or Tippi Hedren on The Birds. You can't treat people that way anymore.
Yeah, I was gonna say, people have lawyers now. They don't, you attach birds to them or terrorize them and make their hair fall out. They get all Sue happy for some reason.
For some reason, these days you had tried to do that. Tippi Hedren would have walked off that picture.
Oh yeah, you'd be hearing about it in the press. There'd be threats of legal whatnot. Yeah. So maybe that might be part of the reason why we don't get films the way we do anymore, is because there's legal issues that people are a little bit more aware that you shouldn't have to...
You can't torture the actors anymore.
Can't torture the actors.
That's what we're really saying. That's that you need to be able to torture people in order to make good horror.
Yeah. You need to really... obviously we're not talking of, driving them into an actual Iron Maiden or, spiking their hands and such, but... Yeah.
That's even Blair Witch Project. They basically were torturing them the whole time.
Yeah, they were basically screwing with the cast the entire time. That's part of it, the shaky cam stuff. But messing with the actors to get a little bit more genuine reaction. I think in the past 15, 20 years, because you can't terrorize the actors, you have to have green screen and CGI and even, the remake of The Thing. If you've ever, if you go online, before we wrap up this segment, Normal Modern Horror, semi-digression here, there's a YouTube video out there where they interview the people who did makeup effects for the modern version of The Thing. They did this reboot of it, and there are some fantastic makeup effects, just look terrifying to see on set, but for some reason the studio decided to go all CG with it instead. And you look at it and it's this looks cheesy, it's kind of CG-ish, and the guy doesn't look, you can tell he's kind of reacting to something that it's not there. But
it kind of ruined it when they decided to move away from the practical effects.
But to tie it back into things, you can't get that kind of okay, we're going to shoot this scene with a monster, but you don't know what it's going to be out of an actor if, say, with Alien, the thing just pops out of its chest and oh my gosh. Or okay, you're going to round the corner, there's going to be a monster there. They don't tell the actor what it's going to be. And then somebody's running at them in a, some freakish dismembered
Dressed
suit.
up like Pennywise.
Dressed up as Pennywise with like a hatchet. Yeah. Like, I know it probably sounds terrible. Like, torture the actors. Beat them to get that best performance. But really, I guess.
But sometimes it works.
Sometimes it works. That's what they used to do. I don't think they do that anymore. How often do you hear, like, terrible stories coming out about how,
how people are being mistreated on the set.
I know that. Again, this just sounds horrible. It's like I'm going to be listening to this in a year. I'm like, what was I thinking? Torture the actors? Well,
no, I was right.
Yeah.
I was right. They need to torture the actors.
Get that performance out of Tom Hanks any way you can. That still looks like Tom Hanks, only he's being ripped apart by a chainsaw. Look at...
Well, I'll go with it.
Yeah. Well, let's move on from the grips of gore to a little something more family-friendly. And I'm going to kick off this particular Halloween recommendation with one that I think... Actually, when you think about it, it's kind of scarier than I think what Disney puts out these days. And that's... you get them as a 2-pack, The Adventures of Ichabod and Mr. Toad, but obviously leaning more on the Sleepy Hollow side. The original Disney cartoon, I think, came out in the 60s.
Yeah.
And it's great, mostly narrated and sung by Bing Crosby. There are occasional, like backup singers or background singers, a little bit of talking, but mostly it's Bing himself narrating and telling the story and doing the voices, like even the internal voices. And it's like maybe 15-20 minutes long, and it sets up the story of Ichabod coming to Sleepy Hollow, and that he's a teacher there, and that, it's kind of funny when you look at it because Brom, I think I'll just remember Brom, the big hulking guy from the story, is usually played as a lout, kind of like a ham-fisted idiot. But if you watch the Disney cartoon version, Brom's still a bit of a lout, but he's not the proto Gaston,
Right.
But he's like the town strong man, the big guy. You look at it, Ichabod's kind of a, I don't know, slime ball, a jerky character in it, because he's like sitting there planning how he wants to marry like some rich farmer's daughter and inheritance, and he's basically looking for a free meal ticket because he's a lazy
sugar mama.
He's looking for a sugar mama. He's a lazy bum. And it's funny because in a way, looking at it after all these years, it was like, Brom is kind of the good guy in this one. Maybe not good guy, but he's like, I'd rather see him win than Ichabod.
More sympathetic character.
He's a more sympathetic character than Ichabod in it, because it's like, hey, the schlub coming in trying to mosey in on my girl for what reason? Because he wants a sugar mama. He wants like an easy ride in life. So he tells him this terrible tale through song, a very catchy song. So remember the hip hip and a chippity chop. He's out looking for a head to chop. Tale of, you have the headless horseman, not much more than that. There's some ghostly rider without a head riding out at night, and if you see him, you have to escape via a bridge. And for animation and such, it's really well done. There's a lot of build up and such, and a lot of little goofy, like, oh haha, it was just the wind, it was just like those catfish tails or whatever they're called,
right.
Knocking on a hollow log, it's just crickets. And to this day, I still remember the toads in the background ribbiting, make the Ichabod sound.
Yep.
I think they even had a homage to that in the Sleepy Hollow movie with Johnny Depp. That same kind of croaking Ichabod sound effect. So, and really, it's all this build up to that one moment where Ichabod's getting chased by the headless horseman, and that terrific laugh, which if you look up on YouTube you can find. It's still one of the creepier laughs out there for a kids film. You've got it's not Brom chasing him around. There's one point where he bumps into the headless horseman in a kind of comical fashion, but he looks down and you see this utter terror on his face. There's nothing down there. This is this is the headless horseman that's chasing him. And it's again, I think Disney used to know how to do a certain amount of scare for kids, just the right kind of creepiness. Like if
Yeah.
you were to watch the classic Night on Bald Mountain, it's got this like kind of creepy thing. The whole mountainside is the devil himself,
Yeah.
and his minions and such. And aside from the fantastic music, you've got the great animation. It's like horrific and creepy. Ends with like Gregorian chant type, music and such.
Yeah.
Light defeating the darkness and all that. But I think one of the things that if you're looking for a family film, not only could you watch that segment of Fantasia, but the Ichabod show portion of The Adventures of Ichabod and Mr. Toad is great, because there's some classic scares in there. Or you could watch like that one scene from Pinocchio where the kid turns into a donkey. That's still freaky.
Yeah.
Disney used to do
disturbing.
things that were just like, holy cow, that kid just like, he's sitting there, it can't be older than 11 or 12, he's drinking and smoking and like a little punk, and then next thing you know, he's like screaming and transforming. So, but yeah.
And clearly in a lot of pain.
And clearly in pain.
Clearly this is not comfortable for it.
Yeah. It's like, or just watch that. I think
it's not just a blink, like, oh, I turned into a donkey. He's just like, ah!
Yeah, he's like screaming, looking at his hands, transforming into hooves. Yeah, you just want to watch like those like 2-3 minutes of Winky turning into a donkey.
Yeah.
And that's, like I was saying, old school kind of Disney from like the 60s and 70s. They took chances that, kids might be scared by it, but it was it's okay to scare them a little bit because they know it's just a cartoon, or it gives an opportunity for parents to really minister to their terrified and traumatized children.
Yeah.
But Ichabod would be high up on my list of recommendations, or Sleepy Hollow, as far as like for family kind of scares, or excuse me, or even Ghostbusters. There's certainly some parts that I wouldn't say are family friendly, but as a whole, Ghostbusters is something you could watch with, I think, maybe with like 8 years old up. Just have them leave the room at certain parts. It might be a bit more risque than others. Because I think some of the risque stuff, the Keymaster and whatever stuff would go over their head entirely. But the whole scene with Bill Murray and, I was going to say Dana Barrett, because Bill Murray is Bill Murray wherever he goes, but you're still okay with that more than you are with Tom Hanks. But with Venkman and Barrett, that's a little risque. But that's also some classic stuff. But
and the stuff with Danny Aykroyd where his pants get unzipped.
Yeah, oh yeah, that's like
that was the scene that I was thinking of.
That too, I forgot about that because Mom and Dad always covered my eyes. Your head be like, no, this part's too scary or too weird. I'm like, okay, I just figure it's the scarier part of the show. No, didn't find out until I was like in my mid-20s what actually happened in that scene. I'm like, oh, okay, yeah, I'm glad they covered my eyes during that. It just, that happens. You tell your kids something too scary going on, can't watch.
Yeah.
But the rest of the stuff, yeah.
And then earmuffs. It's like, that's when so-and-so over here has shut down the power grid. Is this true? Yes, it's true.
This man has no... Yeah. But, those are... Or more on the family... I quote-unquote family-friendly, but just more like a mixed crowd. If there's some, like, younger kids in it and they happen to wonder by, nobody's going to think, well, not as much as they would have 20 years ago, anything of Ghostbusters.
Right.
Or heck, if you're really looking for fun, go pop in a classic episode of MST3K that's like got a monster in it. But really, if my recommendations for kind of family stuff, Sleepy Hollow, the cartoonish Disney version, just those 3 moments, like you like burn that onto a DVD and put that somewhere on loop. Tell me the kids won't be thinking of Halloween a whole different way from Pinocchio or even Ghostbusters. But do you have anything for us that's a little bit
geared toward something more family friendly? Well, actually, the one that I have to recommend isn't really like as such a family film, although it's kind of, just because it was released in 1958, so it doesn't have all of the gore or horrific elements to it.
Yeah.
Actually, they released Christmas of 58,
Oh, wait, no, that's not what I thought I was going to say. Gremlins? No, wait, that was in 58.
No, 1958. And no, Gremlins would be a good one for your playlist, though. I always considered that a Christmas movie. The movie I'm recommending is not what I'd consider a Christmas movie. Bell, Book, and Candle.
Oh, yeah.
With Kim Novak as a witch who places a spell on James Stewart and makes him fall in love with her.
Yeah.
Basically because she hates the woman that he's going to be marrying. And so she decides that, okay, well, I'll make him fall in love with me, and then he won't love that woman that I don't like anymore. And then she ends up falling in love with him, but in falling in love with him, that makes her lose her witchy powers. It's a whole lot of fun.
Yeah.
And it's just an enjoyable show, and one that you can sit around and watch, regardless of the age. The whole family can sit around and watch and enjoy.
Yeah.
And, you got Pyewacket running around, and, like, such great stuff with the cat and all of that, and, like, following the cat around and all that. It's a enjoyable family film that really you could watch anytime. But with the witches, I'm going to call it a Halloween movie.
Okay. In that regard, I guess I could call, what was it, Kiki's Delivery Service, because she's a witch.
Yeah.
A Halloweenish movie because she's a witch. And that's probably a little bit more family-friendly than Ghostbusters, even, because it's one of those classic Studio Ghibli films that has animation and just not much happens, a witch finding her way in the world, black cats, kind of like got that Halloweenish feel. But yeah, Bell, Book, and Candle. That's
just a really great movie.
That's just a great movie all around. Well, let's move into television, because even you don't need big budget effects and big explosions of guts and gore. Well, yeah, we already know you don't need that to make your Halloween kind of have that extra bit of creep factor and spookiness. You can find some of that on the small screen. So we want to talk some TV stuff that will stick with you. That's more on the creepy and scary side, perfect for Halloween viewing. Why don't you kick us off?
Well, I guess really, if you wanted to do TV, you want to watch some TV episodes, of course, there's always Treehouse of Horror. So you could probably just do all of the Treehouse of Horrors, and they'll be done long after all of your guests leave.
Yeah.
There's
what are we on?
Plenty of them.
Season 53 of The Simpsons?
Something like that.
Something I've lost count.
But far fewer are the episodes of Twilight Zone.
Yes.
Well, fewer than episodes of Simpsons, I guess.
It is fewer episodes.
But the really great
like
episodes of Twilight Zone might be fewer than the. But anyway, so To Serve Man.
To Serve Man.
To Serve Man is probably like one of the more iconic episodes of Twilight Zone, and referenced so much in so many other media.
Yeah.
That it's a cookbook is kind of a standard go-to in many cases.
Yeah, it's just like required viewing. If you have ever watched something and thought it felt cliched in like a kind of a horror setting, the To Serve Man is
it's the origin of all of that. There's a lot in there that has been ripped off by a bunch of other people.
Yeah,
but really, I think of course you could probably just press play on Twilight Zone and have it play.
I was going to say,
you could just any episode, pick an episode, any episode, and not any episode. There's a couple as they got later into the season that weren't quite as good.
Yeah,
later
but seasons,
really,
but
I
they
think,
still stick with you.
Yeah, but there are some in there that you just kind of still a little horrified by. Eye of the Beholder in there, which you always remember the scene where it flips around and you see the doctors.
Yeah,
but Monsters Are Due on Maple Street, I think, is one that fewer people have seen, but definitely one of my favorites, and should be in the Halloween playlist, if you will. That all the power goes out, and the residents of this neighborhood on Maple Street start coming out and discussing with each other, well, what the heck happened? Why is there no power? And then weird things start happening, and like one guy's car starts, and so they start blaming him for everything, and they start turning on each other, slowly turning on each other throughout the story. And I won't give away the end because the
ending is great.
Because the ending is good, but you really should, if you haven't yet, add Monsters Are Due on Maple Street to your playlist, because that's one of those kind of a little freaky kind of episodes that you'll remember for a while afterward, just because it's a nice story well told.
Yeah, leaves you unsettled. I think that the really good episodes of Twilight Zone, I mean, they're saying there most of them were written by Rod Serling himself, and a good chunk of them, I think, once you see, our parents have the saying, once you see an episode of Twilight Zone, you never forget it. And they don't just mean the series as a whole, they mean that particular episode.
Yeah,
you recognize it off the bat, you know it's going to happen, because each one, they got a little weaker as when it got into the later seasons, but each one has its own kind of creep factor, and each one was done in such a fantastic way. They're almost like a mini movie in themselves.
Yeah.
That leave you just where is everybody? That's not quite Halloween viewing and got that kind of extra creep factor, but it does. You watch it, and this guy's alone in an abandoned place, and he's freaking out, wondering what happened to people.
Yeah, wasn't that the pilot episode?
I think that was the pilot episode, and that I could see why the network execs were like, yes, we want more of this, because it's just fantastic. It sticks with you. But since you brought up a couple of Twilight Zones, like the Monsters Are Due on Maple Street and the To Serve Man, which are classics, I want to bring up one that also I think might be underwatched as far in the Twilight Zone library, which also deserves play on your playlist, so to speak, of Halloween shows, be Judgment Night. And that's from season 1. I believe it's the 10th episode. And it's this one where a guy has amnesia and he finds himself in a ship in the middle of the Atlantic Ocean. He has this horrible gnawing sense of dread that something bad is going to happen to the ship at a very specific time. I think it's like 9:13 or something. And he gets into more and more hysterics as it gets closer, and he's panicked, and he realizes that this German U-boat is going to attack the ship, but nobody believes him. He gets crammed into his room, and the build-up, I also won't give away the ending of this, the build-up that happens through the episode, the terror that the guy has, and the people being dismissive of him. I mean, I think that's one of the hallmarks of the really good episodes of Twilight Zone, or that gnawing sense of dread and that build up to that horrible thing, and you're just like, and this was only these things were 26 minutes with commercials, but it does such an effective job of the episodes we're talking about here, and Judgment Night and Surfman. It's such a good job building you up to that point of what's going to happen, how does this resolve.
It's where are you going with this?
Where are you going with this? And it's only, this is less than half an hour.
Yeah, it's one of those times where that in most of them there's some sort of little twist at the end. You know that it's coming, but you're like, what could it possibly be? You know? And
it's unlike an M. Night Shyamalan film, which leaves you kind of like, God, really? You're like, you leave and that's the stick with you factor of the Twilight Zone, is you say, oh my gosh.
Yeah.
At the end of it, you're sitting there kind of unnerved, and you don't look at your own world the same way.
Yeah.
Because it just has you second guessing things.
You're still a little paranoid after watching that, okay?
Yeah. And that's, I think, a good kind of Halloween scary that's not, again, no guts, no gore, no real jump scares in these things. Just it starts off by creeping you out, and it builds up from there to dread, to what and all of this in less than half an hour. Which is impressive, and it doesn't feel forced. None of these episodes. A couple other ones we wanted to shout out were the It's a Good Life, where the boy has, right off the bat, he has supernatural powers that he can will anything to happen. Which,
Bill Money, as the kid, was just so perfect in that
I'm
role.
going to send you to the cornfield. You're thinking bad thoughts.
Yeah.
Which, it sounds funny for, the concept. A kid has, godlike powers and can do whatever he wants.
Yeah.
But I mean, I'm not spoiling anything here by saying this, because it's like Rod Serling's narration makes it clear in the beginning that not only does this kid have godlike powers, but he's wished away everything except for the small town where he lives.
Yeah.
Anything he doesn't like, he wishes away. Being a person, a dog, a cat,
whatever.
He doesn't like it. It gets wished away or wished into existence. So it's letting you know this isn't like some kid has a fantasy of like, I want endless candy or all the kittens in the world, but I don't like the rest of the stuff, so it's gone forever. It's just like, wait, what? And Bill Murray as the kid, he does a great job in there. It just leaves you like,
and A Nightmare at 20,000 Feet.
Nightmare at 20,000 Feet.
Give a shout out to that one. There's some thing on the wing.
To be fair, the monster makeup looks kind of corny today, but like there are, again, some classic jump scares in there where, I was going to say Kirk, but where Shatner turns away and turns back to the window, and the thing's got its face there, pressed up against the glass.
And nobody else can see it because it keeps hiding every time somebody comes by and looks, and nobody believes them. And see, it's still a little eerie, even though like it's got that bit of kind of corniness. It's still a bit eerie when it sticks with you. That's the great part of them. So, but beyond Twilight Zone, you can run Twilight Zone endlessly. But beyond Twilight Zone, I also want to say that you could watch Buffy the Vampire Slayer.
Oh, really?
Yes, Buffy the Vampire Slayer. Specifically the episode titled Halloween.
Okay. I was going to say, you don't have to get specific here.
Where they dress up in their costumes and they become the characters that they're dressed up as. And I think that it's just, it's a lot of fun. Plus, it's titled Halloween, so how can you not watch it on Halloween?
Okay.
And Alison Hannigan wears a skimpy outfit, so you gotta love her for that. So, any of those things. But it's an enjoyable episode. It's one of the funnier episodes. Kind of more of a standalone kind of Monster of the Week kind of thing. So it's kind of, you're able to watch it without having to know all of the mythos. Although there are, threads through where they talk about stuff that's happened before, and there's, Oz, seeing Willow's character and kind of going, hey, there, and kind of the beginning of their thing. But I think it stands alone enough that you could watch just that episode, or Doppelgangland, which is my favorite one, where there's an evil Willow.
Okay.
Which is quite fun. Bored now. It's a lot of fun. So that one in your list. Add that.
Yeah. I think since you mentioned standalone stuff, I want to add stuff that's outside the mythos. Like I also wanted to bring up a Doctor Who episode called Blink, which I think most people know about by now, even if they haven't seen Doctor Who. And
just because the Weeping Angels have become like so much of the zeitgeist at this point.
The Weeping Angels are everywhere, as much as like the Daleks are, and that's a credit.
I think more so than the Daleks at this point.
I'd say even par. I mean, the Daleks are classic. You want to think Doctor Who, people automatically think the Daleks, but if you ask people what's the scarier villain, they'll say the Weeping Angels.
The Weeping Angels, yeah.
And I think that, just to give a quick rundown for the uninitiated, Blink is an episode in the 10th Doctor cycle. I believe it's third season. Or third, of the new cycle. I said season 3, and it's the first appearance of these Weeping Angel characters. It's a Doctor Who light episode, meaning that aside from the, you've got the main characters are not the Doctor and his companion. It's actually side people that you see in a typical, like, if you were a watcher of Doctor Who, you see people go by and they notice the Doctor. He might interact with them, and that's about it. They're interested in his world, but they don't get sucked into the TARDIS and all the adventure that you hear about from, it being in the pop culture right now. But what it is you've got these side players, and the Doctor only makes an appearance, really, to give advice via a videotape.
Yeah.
And it's a doozy of a monster that he gives advice on, because what it is the weeping angels are statues that come to snatch you away, basically. And the thing is they're statues, but they're lightning fast. If you look at them, they're a statue, but when you aren't looking at them, the moment you turn away, that's when they move. They move like, boom, well, as the title of the episode suggests, in the blink of an eye. So there's a lot of great moments in the episode, a lot of creepy, like, not just jump scare, but like I can't blink, I can't take my eye off this thing because it moves. And
well, even watching the episode, I thought blink was just to remind you what you need to do while you're watching it, because I noticed that, because like I'm like getting like about halfway through the episode and I'm like, okay, I need to pause to go hit the head. And I'm like, realized that I had moved, like slowly my whole body had leaned in and I hadn't blinked in forever.
Yeah.
It was just like no, they're coming for you. They're coming for you.
Yeah. But it's great writing by Stephen Moffat. He really taps into those. People call them like the primal fears and whatnot, but it's just like that this seemingly innocent thing of angels and such are actually like horrific killers if you turn your back on them. And it's great. I think even if you aren't a regular watcher of Doctor Who, you can dive in with like little to no knowledge of the show, because it doesn't require that of you. It doesn't require you to know the mythos. It doesn't require that you know like the 50 some odd year of backstory of Doctor Who. You can hop in, watch just the one episode, and pull out and have a nice scare, because really it's
and that one, I think that one and the one with the silence.
The one with the silence, yes.
Yes, which I don't recall the name of, but
I can't remember the specific name. Yeah, basically these monsters that disappear or move, like the silence are those creatures that you watch them, you see them, but the moment you turn around, you forget that they're there. You don't just forget, you forget that they exist. So there's this horrible monster behind you, but you've forgotten that it's there.
Yeah,
and that's also a good creep factor. I guess I should also throw out a quick thing for, again, it's not quite as standalone as Blink, as there's a 2-parter called The Silence in the Library, and what it is, it's more of that quote-unquote primal fear. It's every shadow on this one planet that they arrive on contains, not every shadow, but possibly every shadow, I think they even say that, contain what's called, it's got this goofy name, Vashta Narada, but it's better called the piranhas of the air. Basically, if you stick your hands into the shadow, it can be cannibalized in a second.
Yeah.
And it makes it creepy, because it's like the encroaching darkness is itself something to be scared of.
Yeah.
It's there. It's not that there's a monster in the darkness. The darkness is the monster.
Right.
Which, that's just, again, it's like, oh my gosh.
It's one of those where, wow, that's really creepy. Like, and one of those where, like, I'm afraid to close my eyes tonight.
Definitely. I'm afraid to close my eyes.
Don't watch it with the kids.
No, not. I would say a family-friendly episode. It will leave you totally freaked out, and there are some great moments in there where, like, there's one moment where the Doctor says that these creatures are on every planet, and his companion says, well, not Earth. And he kind of looks at her and says, not everyone who goes wandering into the dark comes back. And she kind of like sits there and is like, oh, crap, really? That's just like, I don't want to think of these things, like this shadow flesh-eating creature out there on Earth, because it can just, Anyway, I think we had one last TV thing that we wanted to mention. That was X-Files.
X-Files and Clyde Bruckman's Final Repose.
Yeah.
Has to be really your go-to X-Files one.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a standalone.
It's a standalone episode.
Like, it's really a monster of the week. You don't need to know any of the X-Files mythos to watch it. Won an Emmy. Has the brilliant Peter Boyle as Clyde Bruckman. So good. About a man who is psychic, but only in a very specific way.
Yeah.
Like, he only knows how you're going to die. Like, he only knows that. Like, doesn't know anything else about anything, but he only knows how everybody's going to die. And really just fabulous and well acted. Peter Boyle's great in there. And kind of got some humor, a little bit of levity in there. And I think definitely my favorite episode of X-Files.
Yeah. Sort of mentioning X-Files, there is one other one I wanted to mention, which is Humbug. And it's one where they go and they visit, they investigate murders at a sideshow carnival.
Right, it's the one with Enigma.
It's a one with the Enigma, which if you don't know who the Enigma is...
Yes, you do.
Look him up. You probably do, you just don't realize you do. He's puzzle tattooed.
Yeah, he's tattooed all over his body with puzzle pieces, and he's got horns implanted.
But in this, he doesn't have
he's
horns.
blue. He's blue. He's the blue guy
He's
with
the
the puzzle
blue guy.
pieces. That's the Enigma.
But yeah, it's got circus sideshow freak place. It's like this. It's a murder mystery set in a small town that was founded by circus freaks. So everybody there has got some sort of either odd deformity or like a weird, odd sort of like act that they did back in the day that they still sort of do now, or things like that. So everybody in the town essentially is a monster or some kind of freak of some sort. Yeah. But it's great because you don't, like, halfway through the episode you don't think about it and you're more invested in, like, okay, yeah, there's a monster in it, but an actual kind of monster.
Yeah, there's kind of a monster that's coming after everybody.
There's kind of a monster that's coming after everybody, and I don't want to spoil.
And I remember being like really a little bit going, that was my other X-Files one that I was like, yes, I really enjoyed, and that one I enjoyed more because it was actually kind of freaky.
Yeah,
it's like no pun intended. It was a little bit because they're like going through the old sewer and there's the monster and stuff, and I was like,
Yeah, it's. I mean,
that's the other one.
The other one. There are probably other X-Files episodes that we aren't thinking of.
Forgetting. I'm sure because I used to watch X-Files all the time, and I definitely enjoyed many of the episodes. But those are the ones that really stick out in my brain. Of like, those. Oh, yeah, I remember that.
Yeah, I think before they got into their whole. What do they call a serial type thing where you had to have watched one back from like 3 seasons ago to catch everything that was going on when it was a Monster of the Week show. Yeah, I think it was. I don't want to say it's at its best, but like the early episodes with it.
But actually, definitely some of the more memorable ones.
Some of the more memorable ones were the Monster of the Week type of Freak of the Week. That's Smallville talk. But yeah, Monster of the Week or whatever, or Alien or whatever it was, but. Some good stuff there for your Halloween viewing if you would rather have it just like short little spurts.
Right, and I think that probably if you're actually doing a party or people sitting around, probably the TV episodes is the way to go.
Yeah,
like everybody put on your favorite episode of X-Files or Twilight Zone, The Outer Limits, for goodness sake, if you're into The Outer Limits.
Yeah.
Or watch an episode of Buffy. Heck, Hush won an Emmy Award because that was freaky. That was a freaky episode. Any of these. Throw them in. Throw them on. I'm sure that most of them are available on Netflix.
Yeah.
We control the horizontal. We control the vertical.
That's Outer Limits. But...
Yes, I know.
Okay. Well, we want to thank you for joining us for our Halloween special and letting us give you some recommendations on what you should actually watch rather than Paranoid or super paranoid califragilistic film was coming out with guts and gore. I mean, we want you to be scared. We want some good Halloween movies that get you in the spirit. Because it is Halloween, and you know what we say about Halloween around here.
It's Halloween. Everyone deserves one good scare.